Welcome to Women's Sports Weekly, where women's sports happen every day, but we talk about it once a week. I'm Carolyn.
And I'm Danielle. Women's Sports Weekly is a podcast where we discuss the latest news, explore interesting stories, and share our love for women's sports. Follow us on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok at Women's Sports Weekly Pod. Follow us and rate us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Send us an email at womensportsweeklypod@gmail.com, and we may feature your email on the Listener's Experience Zone, the Les.
We are in the thick of March Madness. Thank you to everyone who has created and submitted a bracket to Women's Sports Weekly. Where are you in the rankings currently?
Not doing too hot. I think middle of the road. I don't know how many brackets we have, but I'm not doing well.
We have close to 100 brackets. So you're in like
the top third going into the second third.
Yeah, I'm at the bottom third, if
Yikes.
You're wondering. I cannot, well, I love to pick all the upsets, and they never happen. Some happen, but not as many as I would like.
I picked the wrong upsets, and then the ones I didn't pick happened. So yeah, also struggling over here.
But thank you to those who signed up. We will keep you all updated on who is the winner, and we will make sure you get your prize. We were also this past week featured by Spotify Podcasts, which was really, really cool.
Yes, they posted us on their story, and we were on there with some pretty big podcasts.
I know. To be honest, I don't remember what the podcasts were, but Tiana Taylor was on there. The girl from Hacks was on there.
Yeah.
And then us, which seems crazy. My sister reached out and she was like, you need to start doing a little bit more makeup and stuff if you're going to be featured next to these people.
And look at me now. I'm barely making it through right now. I'm so tired.
I am not looking that hot either. But, once we get a producer, I will start getting myself ready.
Sure.
Yeah, sure. We also had a big weekend in Utah this past weekend. We met up with my family in Park City for a little rest and relaxation. We thought maybe we could ski in Park City, but a few days before we looked at the weather and then we looked at the cameras at Park City on the mountain and there is no snow.
Yeah, I'm very happy we didn't lug our ski gear because I would have been very, very upset with the conditions. People were still skiing, but we didn't go there with the intention of a ski trip. We were just like, if the snow's good, we're bringing our ski stuff because we haven't skied Park City before. But because the conditions were so bad, we hiked instead and it was great in shorts and tank tops.
I got sunburn on the trip and that's how warm it was. But it was a great time to spend time with my mom, her sisters, my aunts, and my cousins, and of course you. And it was like actually just a very, very relaxing weekend, which I never do that because we're always go when we're here in Denver. And then when we're traveling, it's usually like, well, how can we see the most that we can? But being in Park City, which is a ski town, it was like, okay, go see the main street. And once you've seen that, just chill at the really cool Airbnb we got with a sauna and a hot tub. I was in heaven. I did a lot of reading. It was awesome.
I really enjoyed being at the Airbnb a lot of the time to lay down and watch lots of basketball.
That's right. We got in a lot of good basketball, which was also really great. I also just love Utah. I wish that Denver, like where Denver was situated, was actually exactly where Salt Lake City is. But I would want all the people in Denver and how Denver feels to be there because I love where it is geographically. Mm-hmm. Like you're right in the mountains and Denver is close to the mountains. You can see them, but you're a little bit more removed. And in Salt Lake, you're like right in it. The ski mountains are just so accessible. Everything just feels like it's a lot closer.
Yeah, and it is a lot closer. I mean, from Salt Lake downtown, it's a 40-minute ride to Park City, one of the major ski resorts, and you just don't get that in Denver.
Yeah, but because of the Mormon influence in Salt Lake City, I just don't think it would ever work for us.
No. One of the things that was funny that we saw is after one of our dinners on Sunday night, we went up to, the St. Regis Hotel?
Oh, yes.
Again, we did not ski. We were also with your family, so we were not there partying. We were hanging out at the top of St. Regis. It was like a ski-in, and there was a tent with a huge après-ski party happening. We were just sitting around watching all the drunk skiers, post-ski, come out of that tent when it closed up at 7 p.m. And I was like, they had some fun tonight.
They did. They were having a blast. Not all of them were skiers. Some of them were in their like Park City fur outfits, but they were partying hard and it was some of the best people watching I've seen in a while.
It was. And we had beautiful mountain views around us. So it didn't get much better than that.
It was just a really nice weekend, quality time, quality people. And we did watch a lot of basketball. But before we get into basketball, we're going to talk about a little bit of hockey.
Let's get into it.
In NCAA hockey, the Wisconsin Badgers beat their rival, Ohio State, 3-2 in last Sunday's Frozen Four final to win a second straight NCAA title.
Wow.
The win is Wisconsin's fourth championship in 6 seasons. And now Olympic gold medalists Carolyn, Harvey, and Laila Edwards, who both play for Wisconsin, will head into the PWHL.
Yeah, I guess it's a bit of a lift for your team when you have 2 Olympic gold medalists on the team.
I think they even had more.
It makes sense that they're winning the NCAA tournament.
And what a year for those two. They won the NCAA title last year. They go to the Olympics this year. They win. It's just incredible.
Yeah, I wonder what PWHL teams they'll land on.
I know right now, at least one of them's going to Seattle. So we'll see. But might be some of my new favorite teams in the PWHL.
Yeah,
unless one of them goes to Minnesota.
Yeah, fair.
All right, let's get into some basketball. It is March Madness. Let's cover the first 2 rounds.
Yeah, as you mentioned earlier when talking about your bracket, there weren't a ton of upsets, especially in the first round, but we did have a few. Syracuse, the 9 seed, beat the number 8 seed, Iowa State, 72-63. I was kind of disappointed. I feel like Iowa State should be better, and
Correct.
They're just not. And I don't know, I just get upset by that. Like, I want them to be better.
Yeah, and then Syracuse goes on to get crushed by UConn. And it's just like, oh, okay.
I mean, especially that first half of that game was an absolute bloodbath. And AZ Fudd, geez, she just had 26 points in the first half alone.
Yeah.
And then you have another 8-9 battle, and USC, Southern California, beat Clemson in overtime 71-67.
Yeah, and to me, what I've been noticing about this first and second round is there's been a lot of overtime games, which we love. It makes it super exciting.
Yeah, and another thing I want to point out, and I said this last year, the first 4 seeds in each region get a home court advantage. They host for the first 2 rounds. And I really, especially in the close games, we have seen how much of an advantage that really plays, especially these home teams have huge crowds. And I don't know, it just doesn't seem fair at this stage of the tournament.
And I think we said this last year, and there was some conversation of will enough people go to the games? But what I'm seeing is because it's not in a neutral site, the 1 through 4 seeds have a ton of people come, and then the 8-9 matchup happens and it's like nobody's there. I think we're underestimating our women, as we normally like to do. If you did it at a neutral site, I think you would get a lot more people to come. You would get a lot more people who can't make it to the Final Four due to the location or money or things like that. Like, you can make that a more affordable option and have people go and see great basketball. Why are we not doing that?
Yeah, I agree. I don't know if it will change anytime soon, but I do hope it does change eventually. Also in the first round, and Virginia we're going to talk about more because they continue their streak with upsetting teams, but they beat Georgia in the first round. Virginia went into this game as the 10 seed, Georgia is the 7 seed, and Virginia won 82-73.
We were watching that game and I was like, ooh, okay, Virginia, this team looks good. And I was like, oh, I like this team.
Yeah.
And that continued into the second round.
Also, in the second round, there were some overtime games and a lot of close games that happened.
Let's get into the second round, where TCU, the number 3 seed, beat Washington, the number 6 seed, in overtime 62-59. And does that happen if it's at a neutral site? Because TCU is going really wild during this game.
You also have close matchups like Louisville, number 3, beat Alabama, number 6 by 1 point, 69-68. Also in the second round, Minnesota, number 4, beats number 5, Ole Miss, which is a very close game, 65-63.
I did not have that on my bracket.
There's just been a lot of close games, and like I said, I just think the home court advantage plays a huge role, and we'll see what happens.
And then continuing on into the second round, Virginia, number 10, played Iowa, the number 2 seed, and Virginia won in double overtime. You talked to your dad about this a little bit. Your dad was like, Iowa's not a number 2 seed.
Yeah. And I have feelings about some of the seedings as well. It's like, how is that team, like Iowa, for example, number 2?
I do feel like this year there's a larger disparity between the top 6 teams and the rest of the field.
Yeah.
We'll see if that holds, but that's my feeling at this stage in the second round. But not with Virginia. They are my favorite team to watch besides the South Carolina Gamecocks. They beat Iowa 83-75 in double overtime. This will be their first trip to the Sweet 16 since 2000, and they are the last double-digit team still standing.
Yeah, and they had some key players who really went off in this game. You have Kimora Johnson, who was absolutely unstoppable. She played all 50 minutes. She had 28 points, and this was the second straight tournament game she had 28 points.
These players that we're going to talk about, they were not even alive the last time that Virginia went to the Sweet 16.
It's so young. And then you have Paris Clark, who added 20 points, 7 rebounds, and 4 assists. Another huge game.
Clark sparked the comeback, and Kimora Johnson also was clutch in the overtime. She was just doing everything. This was at Iowa, and it's a crazy place to play. Virginia looked very composed and were able to get it done.
I was worried because there were some calls late in the game
Yep.
that were in the first overtime that were in Iowa's favor. And I did not think Virginia was going to be able to pull this off.
Yeah. Iowa unfortunately missed some clutch free throws at the end, weren't able to hang on. But this Virginia team, if you haven't watched them, you need to tune into their Sweet 16 game. They're fun to root for.
Yeah, and not to mention, this is the first team ever to reach the Sweet 16 after starting the tournament in the first 4, which means they were not an automatic bid into the tournament. They had to do the play-in game, and it's also their first win over a top 2 seed since 1996.
That's amazing. And I'm still a little confused. I didn't look into this of why 10 seeds were playing play-in games, but we're not going to get into that. But good for Virginia. We'll talk about them more and what we're looking forward to. I can't wait to see the matchup with TCU. Okay, let's get into this Notre Dame versus Ohio State game in the second round. Notre Dame is the 6th seed. Ohio State is in the 3.
I am proudly wearing my Notre Dame sweatshirt. I was not so proudly talking about them a few weeks ago when I was very upset when they lost to Duke, but they are on a roll right now. This is the second time in program history where the Irish have made it to the Sweet 16 as a 6 seed or lower. And fun fact, the first time was back in 1997 when their current head coach, Neil Ivey, was a freshman for Notre Dame.
I love that you're so back on like Notre Dame stats. You're coming in so hard. Are you thinking national championship?
I don't know. We'll get into why I'm a little skeptical, but I'm really happy. I did not think they were going to make it this far, and I'm taking every win as, something to be proud of. Yeah.
A personal win for you.
And it's interesting because the past 2 seasons, so Hannah Hidalgo's now a junior, her freshman and sophomore year, they were knocked out in the Sweet 16 as number 2 and number 3 seeds. This year, I didn't even know if they were going to make the tournament because I was so salty.
They were making the tournament.
And now they're getting to the Sweet 16 as a 6 seed. They upset Ohio State on their home court. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, I don't know. Maybe as a 6 seed, they have a little less pressure and it's helping them. I also, as a lot of players do, just seeing the growth in Hannah Hidalgo's game, both physical aspect and mental, has been huge. I remember 2 years ago, her freshman year in the Sweet 16 game, they lost to Oregon State when Hannah Hidalgo had the nose ring in and the ref made a big stink about it and they couldn't get it out. And then she was just done.
Cold.
The
she
rest
was cold.
Of the game.
Yeah.
But she's having an unbelievable year. She leads the country in steals.
She's so pesky.
So pesky. Even in this game, she picks up her 4th foul with 4 minutes to go, and she's still playing as hard as she did when she started the game and going for like
steals.
In between steals that could be a foul, but she's just so quick and gets her hands on them, and she's just so intense and just wants to win every ball, and that's what makes her so good. She had a double-double in this game. She finished with 26 points, 13 rebounds, 8 steals, and 2 assists.
Yeah, almost a triple-double with steals, which is wild.
And there were a lot of other players who really contributed in this game. Vanessa De Jesus added 15 points, and then you have Cassandra Prosper and Ayanna Moore, who both added 13 points.
Ohio State was led by sophomore All-American Jelani Cambridge with 41 points and was the only Buckeye with double digits. So she was doing all of it.
Notre Dame took Hannah out with, a minute left. And all of a sudden, Jelani just starts launching and making threes. And I'm like, do we need to put Hannah back in? But it wasn't enough for the Buckeyes. Now, You asked me if I think Notre Dame's going all the way. They will have to get past number 2 Vanderbilt in the Sweet 16 round, and it's going to be a Hannah Hidalgo versus Michaela Blake's matchup. And if you haven't watched Michaela Blake's yet, she is leading the country in scoring. Yeah. Vanderbilt has been on a tear. They're a number 2 seed, but I do think this is going to be a very difficult matchup.
I also think that between Ohio State and Notre Dame, I bet Vanderbilt wanted the Ohio State matchup more, because I do think the Hannah Hidalgo, if she's guarding Michaela Blake's, which I assume she will be, is going to be a tough one. I think that Notre Dame has a curse of homophobia. And that Hannah Hidalgo won't make it past the Sweet 16 until she rights all her homophobic wrongs. That's my hot take.
You know, I've been curious how her and Michaela Mabry are, and they gave each other a big hug after the game. So I have hope that there's been some
repairing.
Yeah, I have hope. But I don't know. We'll see.
And also, my hot take is only gay teams win championships.
There you go. You don't think there's any gay girls on Notre Dame?
Oh, there definitely is, but you got to have like a strong gay at the top.
Okay. Moving along. That's it for our March Madness update for this week. Let's get into our updates for the week before we get into our deep dive. Starting with Run Club. We have Run Club this Thursday and every Thursday at 6 p.m. Mountain Time at the 99ers Sports Bar here in Denver. Listen to our podcast, share the secret word with the bartenders after the run, and you will get 50% off your first draft. The secret word this week is Irish.
Ooh, Irish. Wow. We're really doubling down with this.
I am.
Wow. Okay. I have to take some time and ask you to please rate and subscribe to our podcast. We love putting this podcast together. We want to continue to do it. We want to grow, and we create, produce, and edit the podcast ourselves. So if you want to support us, which I know you do, rate, subscribe, give us a positive review, and share this lovely little podcast with the people you love. Thank you to everyone who has rated the podcast so far. If you send us a screenshot of your 5-star rating, we will send you a Women's Sports Weekly sticker for free. And I just got 200 more in the mail.
Wow.
So we're getting them out there. All right, let's get into our deep dive this week. There is a WNBA CBA, and we are so excited.
Yes. And with all these announcements about the CBA, I quickly learned that March Madness is quickly going to roll into April Madness, and it will not stop.
We'll get into the schedule after we talk through the details here, but I'm worried about our podcast because I'm like, ooh, that information is going to be coming out fast and wild, and we only record once a week and release once a week, and you know me, I'm always like, can we record multiple times a week? We won't be doing it.
I'm going to have to keep Carolyn under wraps here. And
yes.
I apologize to our listeners, but we do have full-time jobs and lives outside of this podcast. And I love this podcast, so continue to rate.
Yes.
But we do have to have some boundaries.
That's very true. We do need to have some boundaries so we can keep our other jobs. But if you continue to rate and subscribe, you know, you just increase our chances of doing this more than just weekly.
There you go.
All right. So back to the CBA. This is a 7-year deal that runs through 2032. The terms of the CBA were verbally agreed upon by both parties, the WNBA League and the Players Association, early last Wednesday, so now a week ago. And this happened after 8 days and more than 100 hours of bargaining in New York City.
I just love the pictures that come out of this because both sides were smiling. They were in close quarters for this whole time in a room, just going. And I'm really happy for the players that they could come to an agreement that they were happy with.
And like, this is a compromise. Some things I'm still like, okay, what is that exactly is this going to look like? But I'm going to rewind back to when we spoke to some players here in Denver. It was Jordan Canada, Charisma Osborne, and Michaela Onyenwere. And they focus on 3 areas: pay, pension, and parental support. And we're going to see levels of that as we talk. But as the talks continued, it seemed that revenue share was one of the big things. So we'll get into that as well, which to me falls under the pay. Let's talk about the pay some more. The salary cap went from $1.5 million to $7 million per team. This will change annually based on league and team revenue growth. So it's projected that the salary cap will exceed $11 million by 2032.
And I love this, that they put this in a way where it will grow with revenue growth and it's not just a stuck number. I think that's a huge win.
Yeah, as long as the WNBA continues to grow, these salaries will continue to grow. And I think that's a great point. To tie your growth in salary to the growth of the league is such a great idea. So it's not like you're stuck in that salary for 7 years and then you have to renegotiate again. It's like, no, if we grow, like everyone is thinking that we're going to, that we've been proving, our salary cap will grow as well.
Yeah.
The Supermax salary went from $250,000 to $1.4 million. So again, to put that into perspective, last year, the salary cap for the entire team was $1.5 million. And now going into this season, one player can make $1.4 million. And I'm not just saying one player per team. I'm saying a player can make that much.
Yeah. Which is great. And to continue to put this in perspective, if you're looking at average salaries, they went up from $120K to $600K. Now these women can actually live off of their WNBA salaries.
Yes, and $600,000 is across the US it's a good amount of money to be making. And is it as much as NBA players? No. Is it as much as any male sport? No, but this is a really good step.
Yeah, and I don't even want to compare there now because I'm looking at like, okay, let's see how much we jumped in the WNBA and looking at that win. While I'm not saying I don't wish the women made as much as the men, I am happy to see the growth.
Correct.
And with the minimum salary, it went from $66,000 to $300,000, which is huge.
Yes, and this is what we need. We need to attract rookies to the league. I am so happy about this because now people who play have a clear path to making money in the WNBA, where some people who are thinking like, oh, should I go to med school or should I try for the WNBA? Now they're like, no, I can do that. Mm-hmm. Like it shows a way. And I just think that is so important.
Yeah, that's a great point.
And then let's get into this revenue share. So players will receive roughly 20% of gross league and team revenue over the life of the deal. So until 2032. My concern about this is that we're not sure exactly how it is calculated. I can't wait until I get my hands on the CBA. So the previous CBA is actually posted on the WNBPA website. And I was looking through that a little bit today, doing research. And I was like, oh, I can't wait to see exactly how they're doing this. And I do have some reservations of the WNBA as a league has not been very forthcoming about their numbers. So I'm like, okay, what are they taking into account here? So this is one that I still have my eye on, but just again, to put some context around this, players initially asked for 40% of the league's total revenue before expenses. So that's that gross revenue. And they later came down to 26%. The league, meanwhile, offered 70% of net revenue after expenses. And this gap was the central part of the negotiations, where the WNBA was like, we want to do net revenue. After all our expenses, then we'll give you 70%. But again, when you're not seeing the books all the time, the players were like, no, we'll take 20%. And again, not to compare, but it's a 50-50 split in the NBA. So we're still fighting for scraps here, but we got 20%. And then there's all these additional details that to me are just as important, but the money bags and stuff are the big ones. Sure. But let's get into some more additional details.
Yeah, let's start with housing. So housing will be provided. I know this was a big topic of conversation over the past couple of months because it was like, well, if the players are getting paid more, do they still have to give them housing? And I'm very happy that it's still going to be provided. So it will be provided for all players in 2026, 27, and 28. And then moving forward to 2029 and 2030, it will only be provided to the players making $500,000 or less. I do think at this point in time, it is fair because it gives the players time to plan and they will all get the housing for the next 3 years. I mean, to me, I think that's great.
And I believe I read since the WNBA's inception, they've always provided housing. So this is like a phase out. And new developmental players will be provided housing in every year. So if you're a developmental player who's coming in, you are getting housing. And I love that because those developmental players can get traded around quite a bit.
Yeah, I think that's key.
The agreement will also require teams to roster 12 players, and they can have 2 additional spots for developmental players that do not count against their salary cap. So in the past, a team may choose to have 11 players and then increase the salary of a player. So say they wanted like an Asia Wilson, they would only roster 11 players so they could pay Asia Wilson more, and now they're required to have 12. And you want 12 players because people get hurt, people get injured, and it adds more people into the league.
Yeah, no, I think that's huge. Okay, another huge topic of conversation over the past couple of months has been the argument that if the players are getting paid more, there should be more games in the schedule. Well, it looks like this is also going to come in phases. So this upcoming 2026 season will remain at 44 games. It'll go up to 50 games in 2027 and 2028. And then from 2029 to 2032, it will go up to 52 games.
And this also matches with the expansion of the team. So
agree.
Makes sense. I hope that they don't try to condense the schedule. We'll see when that comes out as well. We want those games to be spread out over a longer period of time. There will also be salary cap exceptions for injured or pregnant players. So if a player gets pregnant, it does not impact your salary cap if they cannot play that year. So they're still on the roster, but their salary that they get paid does not impact your salary cap.
Okay. That makes sense, and I like that.
And on top of that, there is a requirement for pregnant player trade consent. This should be called the Dearica Hamby rule because this is what happened to her. She got traded while she was pregnant. Players cannot be traded while they're pregnant unless they consent to it.
Which,
yeah, I mean,
bare minimum.
Yes.
And then we talk about bonuses. So there's going to be substantial increases in bonus compensation for all league and postseason awards. This will start in 2027. And then bonuses will increase at the rate of growth in the salary cap.
Yeah, and to put this into perspective, I think all-star players were getting paid like $1,000 to come to all-star games. So that is increasing. So some just much needed updates to this. And again, attached to the growth of the league, which hopefully will get the players paid more and more and more. So back to family planning a little bit. The new terms expand family planning benefits for players and their spouses and partners. Again, I tried to find out exactly what that is. That's not out yet. But the previous benefit was that teams would reimburse any player with 8 or more years of service. So you had to play in the league for 8 years in order to get this, with $20,000 for each season for costs directly related to adoption, surrogacy, fertility, or infertility treatment, and some more things. And that could be used up to $60,000 on a team. So we'll see what that new benefit is. But 8 years seems like a lot of years of service to put in before getting into that benefit. So we hope that that looks a little bit better too. So we talked about pay, we talked about parental benefits, and now we'll talk about pension. So this is not a pension you would see in the federal government or if you worked for the police, but it is a one-time recognition payment for WNBA veterans and retired players based on years of service in the league. And I think it started at 3 years and above. And that ranges from $30,000 to $100,000. So a thank you to the people who laid the foundation for the league. And then tying the payment to growth is really setting up the future of the WNBA to continue to make money.
Love to see it.
And I honestly feel like this is just the beginning. The WNBA sets the standard for these CBAs. And I think this is probably the first modern CBA that actually treats the women not like a charity case and like people who bring in money. I can't wait to see the ripple effects for that for years to come.
I agree. Honestly, incredible. So happy we're going to have a season and so happy the players are getting what they deserve.
Let's talk about what that season's going to look like because we are on a sprint to May 8th, which is when the regular season begins.
Yeah, I mentioned earlier, March Madness is going to go right into April. I mean, starting next week, the expansion draft is going to happen as the Final Four is happening, which just seems wild to me.
So April 1st to 6th, the expansion draft will occur for 2 teams, the Toronto Tempo and the Portland Fire. From April 7th to 18th, the free agency period, which I can't even imagine what that's going to look like.
Everyone's been waiting for that.
And we'll finally see what teams may look like. And then April 13th is the WNBA draft. One of my favorite nights of the year. Can't wait for all the outfits. April 19th, training camp begins. And then May 8th, the regular season begins.
It's going to be so exciting.
Let's get into what we're looking forward to this week. Danielle, what do you have?
Switching gears away from basketball, we have the NWSL. The Denver Summit is hosting the Washington Spirit on Saturday, March 28th at 2 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Mountain in Denver. You can also see it on YouTube TV. We're going to be there live, which we're so excited about. There will also be over 50,000 people there at Broncos Stadium.
50,000 people, 50,000 of our closest friends.
There you go. Denver is showing up, and I hope ticket sales just continue to happen this week. So if you haven't gotten your tickets yet, get them while they're hot.
I cannot wait to talk about it on the podcast next week. It's going to be amazing.
Yes. Outside of that, which we're both looking forward to, what do you got?
I am looking forward to some more March Madness. Virginia number 10 will play TCU number 3 on Saturday, March 28th. We don't know the time yet. I hope it's not during the NWSL game, but I will be rewatching it if I need to because I can't wait to see this matchup. And I hope that Virginia gives them a good game.
Yep. You and your Virginia. All of a sudden you have a new team.
I know. And this won't be home court advantage because this will be played now in the regional.
Yes, which I appreciate. And with that, that's it for this week. We will see you next week on Women's Sports Weekly. In the meantime, watch women's sports and share the podcast with your friends. Rate and subscribe to the pod on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. Thanks for joining us.
Bye.